The market recap presented by Tackle Trading. Get in the game.
Good afternoon, Tackle Traders, and hello, YouTube. This is Frank coming to you with the market recap for Thursday, September 6th. Another day of selling from a broad point of view, but there's definitely some buying going on in certain areas, as there usually is. Before we jump into today's price action, we do have Broadcom reporting earnings after the close here today. I didn't have a chance to see what they may have been before I jumped on the recap, but they are, of course, an S&P 500 company. So let's go ahead and make sure we check into that tomorrow, see how they respond to that earnings announcement. So that'll do us for the week. Very light week in earnings, and certainly in S&P 500 earnings as well. A lot of selling in the market. We saw the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Russell all pulled back to pretty significant levels of support in my mind. The Dow Jones actually held its own and actually closed up in the green today. Starting with the S&P, we did kind of pull back to that old breakout point. Much like we've been seeing a lot lately, we were able to kind of catch our footing on the intraday lows and turn around and pull up a little bit of extra strength. So here's our bottom point. Rallied up. So we closed with a little bit of momentum overall in the market, but really pullback continues. It's been, certainly I would have liked to see it be a lot less violent, maybe is the word I would use to describe some of the selling today. Would like to have seen it drift down a little bit as opposed to really big red candle. But I do like the price. The price certainly is right. Of course, I do think we need to wait for confirmation, as I'll always say. But definitely we're in an interesting location. Kind of caught our low on the 20-day moving average. Closed with a little bit of momentum at the old breakout point on the S&P 500. So definitely something interesting there. NASDAQ really struggled and kind of caught its footing on this little trend line that's been kind of running with as of late. Much like the S&P was able to kind of creep up off of those lows. Certainly not enough to give us strong bullish indication, but at least enough to maybe think, okay, maybe the bulls are interested in this pullback opportunity. Like we discussed the last few days, we've wanted to pull back, or at least a lot of traders have wanted to pull back, and now we're getting them. And so we haven't had any confirmation. Maybe we are. Maybe we shouldn't trade the pullback, but we're getting that opportunity here, in the relatively near future, should we want to take advantage of it. Looking at the Rust, we came very close to our breakout point. I think it is important that holds for us. So that will be something I think we should all be keeping an eye on in the days to come. Make sure that we can test that old resistance as some new support to confirm this breakout. But other than quite a bit of selling on the day, nothing really changed from a technical perspective. And then the Dow Jones actually was able to creep up a little bit. It's kind of been holding its own a little bit better than these other indexes as of late, as industrials have done a little bit of a better job. Really, as we've talked before, our breakout holds. We've got a little bit of overhead, but we're a ways away from that. We're approaching our previous swing level of resistance, but we are not quite there yet. So, really quite a bit of selling overall in the market today. That's for sure. Kind of shifting gears into our sectors. Our material sector continues to be very volatile, even on the day. We had a huge shadow to the upside, huge shadow to the downside, closing relatively flat in the middle. We're just seeing a lot of volatility over in that sector. We're not really going anywhere. We're very, very sideways, when you zoom out a little bit, but day to day, most candles are pretty good size. Nothing really has changed in my mind from a technical point of view over there. A ton of selling over in the energy sector. We did close right at that 200-day moving average on XLE. We know that really was kind of the catalyst to bring us back up. This last time we got there, obviously, I think we need to see some sort of turnaround. I'm never going to buy on a red candle like this, but an interesting location. Let's go ahead and monitor that in the coming days, would certainly at least be my game plan when it comes to the energy sector. Finances, a little bit of a mixed day. Nothing changed, though, technically. We still continue to hold our break, hold our previous swing low. So really kind of just a bland day over in the financial sector. Nothing changed technically. Pretty good strength in the industrial, though. We're able to run up briefly pushed through that previous swing high. Still seeing quite a bit of strength in the Dow, in the industrial sector right now. Nothing from a technical point of view that I'm seeing that suggests that we should expect that to stop. So I think we're pretty much in the same overall technical patterns we were a few days ago. We just had better entry points a few days ago when we were kind of hanging out on that breakout point. Of course, as NASDAQ goes, so goes tech. Really very similar situation as the NASDAQ kind of worked towards that old trend line, caught some footing, did see a little bit of a run on the intraday before the day was through, still closing very much down on the days. Definitely want to see, on pullback situations like this, you definitely, if you're me at least, want to see somebody else step in first. I don't want to be the first, and maybe I want to be the first trader in, but I can't be the first trader in. Let's see if we can get some sort of confirmation in the next few trading days. Wouldn't mind seeing a really flat day tomorrow and taking another go at this next week, but we'll see if we get that. Staples built off of yesterday's momentum, continuing to push up here today. Certainly not as strong as it was yesterday, although yesterday exhibited exceptional strength, in my opinion. But overall, we're still in the same technical situation over in the Staples sector, remain strong. Utilities also remain strong, pushing and actually closing a little bit above their previous swing high. So certainly nothing really changed over there. On the utility sector, we'll just take a quick look at its weekly chart. Really, this kind of area that we just broke through, there's really not a ton. There's a couple of little, areas, but not a lot of overhead over in the utility sector. There will be a few areas, that we do want to kind of keep an eye on because they have acted as resistance before. But for the most part, we have a pretty clear path in my mind if we are going to continue that upward momentum. Healthcare continues to hold its own. Very mellow, very moderate pullback over in the healthcare sector. Looks very different than the tech sector. That's for sure. I don't know that we've seen, that confirmation candle, but we definitely are seeing relative strength over in the healthcare sector right now, as has really been the case for a couple of months now. It's certainly been a very strong sector. Did continue to pull back over in the discretionaries. We kind of started that yesterday. They were kind of one of our early breakout sectors, and they're kind of one of our later pullback sectors right now. So I think we kind of want to just let this one play out for another day or two, make sure we can establish a higher level of support, or maybe we're even going to pull back and test that breakout point. That's not my expectation, but I wouldn't be shocked to see something like that happen. But really, our breakout remains intact. We're just kind of in that pullback phase currently in the discretionary. And in real estate, we continue to trade within this range that we've been talking about as of late. Nothing really has changed from that, from any technical point of view. Until we're out of this range, we're in it, right? And so, nothing too exciting to say about real estate. Did fare pretty well today. We're, testing that higher end. So maybe, if we are going to take another run at that breakout, maybe that can happen in the very near future. The closer we are to resistance, the sooner it can potentially happen, right? So that's where we find ourselves overall in our sectors. We are getting some really interesting pullback opportunities in certain areas like tech, notably. So over the course of this weekend, kind of looking around for some pullback opportunities. If that is what you've been waiting for, will probably be a good use of your time. But we'll see how we respond tomorrow. We'll see if we settle down a little bit, see if we continue that selling, see if we get a huge bullish candle. We'll have to see what tomorrow looks like before we can truly game plan for the weekend. Shifting gears into our commodities, gold continues really to be in the same situation. Did have a little bit of a run before approaching that resistance and getting knocked back down. We've talked about that a lot. Sooner or later, we're going to have something new to talk about, but not today. That resistance continues to be the big story within this overall downward trend. Nothing has changed. But again, kind of like we talked, over the last few days, from that bullish point of view, whether you're a bull on gold or not, or a potential bull on gold, this type of a pattern, if we can break back above that resistance after placing that higher swing low, that can be one of those reversal signals, at least short term. So whether or not that's applicable to me, I don't know that that's the case for gold right now. Pattern-wise, it will be applicable to me certainly on something else in the future. I'm not saying I will ever expect resistance to break. I will expect resistance to hold. Until it's broke, it hasn't broke. So my money's always going to be betting on support and resistance, but I'm always planning ahead. If this breaks, that's a bullish signal. Would I buy? And sometimes yes, and sometimes yeah. This trend is just too gnarly for me. I'm going to let someone else do that if that happens. But really, nothing has changed over there. Silver, very similar, kind of had that rally, ran up to that old floor, as we've seen many times before. Used that as its intraday resistance before getting pushed back down, building another one of those little mini floors. We've seen this before. You see this a lot on a lot of these commodities. Get rid of this, where we kind of build that little mini floor. Definitely watch it. See if we hold that or if that breaks. Remember, anytime we break support, technically speaking, it is a selling signal, right? Whether or not we're going to sell off of that, that's our business. Other factors will probably be involved. But from the purest sense of things, when we break support, that is a sell signal. So watch this floor as we kind of deal with that or develop it potentially over the next few trading days. See if we can find something interesting happening over there. On the dollar, we're back in range. So most days are like most other days. Blah, we're still in that trading range. Nothing has changed technically, until we figure that out of this range. Once again, we had that little brief run out of the range, but now we're right back into it. Let's continue to follow it. But really, I don't see how you can say anything other than we're stuck in this range. If you're a swing trader, I'm sure there's been great day trading opportunities, as there often are in the currency market. But as a swing point of view, I really don't think this chart is very great. Personally, type of thing I like to leave alone. Looking over at natural gas, following that break that we saw, a couple days ago, carried that momentum into yesterday and now again into today. We're getting closer to some support levels. So if we start to see some of these short sellers get out, maybe potentially some intrigued buyers start to come back in, probably shouldn't be too terribly shocking. We are relatively close to that support zone within the natural gas, but we are still being, a very overall bearish market, in the short term, at least over there in natural gas. So monitor that price. Certainly, I'm not going to be willing to bet it's going to turn around, but I'm always going to be watching support resistance, right? So, and then of course, lastly, crude. Another rough day over in crude. Boy, they failed that breakout. We talked yesterday. When that breakout fails, that excited group of traders, of bulls who bought in, they got burned, and whether they should or shouldn't feel this way, it's easy to feel like I got burned, not again, right? At least today. So, we failed that breakout a few days ago, carried over into yesterday, back in today. Much like our dollar, we're kind of, back within this range. Now we're kind of on the bottom end of it. So we are at support. Will be an area that we want to be monitoring for sure. If that support can't hold, I don't see any reason why we don't work back to that 200 average like we did last time. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if support holds. I, of course, will say the same thing today as I said yesterday, and we're really rangy on this. And I personally am going to leave it, at least directionally speaking, going to be leaving this type of a chart alone until something more clearly develops. I don't think it's over in the crude market right now, personally. So definitely quite a bit of price action, a little bit on both sides of things. Like I said earlier, a lot of people have been asking, wanting to pull back, but then the pullback happens, and they say, well, but it's too much, and I don't know the future, or I would certainly tell everybody what it was, at least when it comes to stock trading. But hey, we've got the pullback. If that's an opportunity we wanted a week ago, we probably are still at least moderately interested in that opportunity here today. We don't have to jump in, tomorrow. We don't have to guess the bottom. We don't want to catch that falling knife anyway. We want to see some sort of a confirmation candle, some sort of turnaround. At least I want to see that type of stuff before I'm going to jump in potentially. But we are getting that opportunity. So if you have been watching for, that pullback opportunity, be happy. Be glad that we're getting this because you are getting that pullback opportunity. Even, something like Amazon, I was just, as I was going through things today, and I'll let you get out of here. But even in Amazon, who broke out a few, last week, ran up quickly to above 2,000, just a few days ago. Well, I want Amazon to pull back, right? But we see some selling. Oh, wow, that's a lot of selling. Yeah, maybe it is. And again, I don't have to do anything ever, right? I don't have to trade Amazon. I don't have to do anything. But hey, I am in a very interesting place. I have had that pullback. I haven't had a confirmation signal. I'm seeing this pattern in a lot of different places as I've been going through stocks on my own or with other people. We wanted this, right? At least a lot of us wanted a pullback. And it may or may not be on Amazon. This is, of course, just an example. But hey, we're getting them. Let's prep them. If that's something that we were looking for, let's be ready to take advantage if we get the buy signals that we're looking for. As of today, I don't see those buy signals. But tomorrow I could be saying something very different. And hey, maybe tomorrow the pullback continues, right? We can be prepared. That's for sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the market recap for today. As always, it is certainly my pleasure, and I do appreciate everybody's time. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the Tackle Trading YouTube channel so you can be alerted of any new videos or live streams that we have going on over here. If you enjoyed the market recap, it is always helpful and appreciated to give it a thumbs up to let us know that we are on the right track and you're finding it helpful. Be sure to follow Tackle Trading over at Tackle Trading on Twitter. And I will let you get out of here. But happy trading, and I shall see you in the next one.